I'm Annie Emprima-Martin. There is only one Emprima out there. So if you type in Emprima, um, what I do now is I work in the world of metaphysics. I have a full-time practice and a TikTok account that has quite the busy lineup. But that all sort of started from a sequence of events that happened about 6-7 years ago.
Perfect. So you mentioned TikTok. I'm still trying to figure out TikTok. So any tips from you to me?
Authenticity. TikTok is the place where you can't pretend. You have to be you. And the audience doesn't want the polished version like you would on Instagram. The TikTok audience wants to know who you are. They want the truth and they want to know the vulnerabilities of who you are.
So raw, unedited, in your face, transparent, without a grain of salt. Just you, unadulterated.
Yeah. Perhaps not the like completely casual version, but the moderate version.
Perfect. So you're going to take us through your journey, and your journey begins, well, it didn't begin this way, but ultimately you ended up divorced. So take us from the very, very beginning. How did you get married? How did you guys meet? And how did it lead up to you ultimately getting a divorce?
So we knew each other in high school. He was my boyfriend's best friend. They lived 13 miles apart from where I lived. They went to the same school. So we hung out whenever I was with my boyfriend, 16 years old. Tim was there. And I didn't think much of it. I didn't think much of it at all. He went off to Germany in the army. He went off to Germany for the army. And I just continued on my life. And then he finished his 6-year tour, came back to our hometown, our home area, and wanted to hang out. And by then I had already broken up with my boyfriend. We had parted ways and still nothing happened. He moved to Las Vegas. I came from New England. And I didn't hear much from him for about 6 more years. And then he sent me an email saying, "Hey, I'm back at home to visit my family. I want to hang out with you." And I was like, well, it just so happens I'm in Las Vegas for the first time in my life, chaperoning a teenager. Why don't we meet up when you get back? And so that sort of led into us dating. And, I look back, being in metaphysics, it's really about training intuition. And so that voice in my head at the first moment, that first day I got down at the airport, came down the stairs, the voice said, "Don't do it." And before we got really intimate, the voice said, "Don't do it." And before we got married, the voice said, "Don't do it." And I just sort of dismissed that voice and didn't really, I didn't know to trust it at the time. It's not until you look back, you're like, oh, the signs were there. But when you're in it, you just sort of think your mind is playing games on you and it's not your intuition. So we were married. We were married for about 10 years. And then I deployed. That was sort of the catalyst, is coming back from deployment.
I know for me, when I look back on some of my relationships, I swear, and I crack this joke every single time, I say I must have had stardust in my eyes because I have no idea how I got myself caught up in some of these situations. But then when you remember how it felt, it was like this overwhelming feeling where it's like, it feels so good, but it's like chocolate cake. I know it's so bad for me.
Mm-hmm.
Was it one of those moments when you look back, or was it like everything is good, then it became bad?
No, it wasn't good because we fought a lot before we even got married. But I was comparing it to what I was leaving. I left a misogynistic Catholic family. So in comparison to that, with an overbearing father that had his own addictive tendencies, and I didn't see that either, I was leaving one situation for what I thought was a better situation. And then it was, looking back, it was better than the where I grew up, but it wasn't as good as what I deserved. And I didn't have that perspective yet. It wasn't until I would say the recent years, the past 3, 4 years, that I can look back and say why I was short selling myself, because I didn't think I didn't feel worthy enough to seek something greater.
It's like on a scale, this situation is bad, my home life,
Mhm.
but this person is better than that, but they're not necessarily good enough for what I want out of my life. But if I'm going to compare the two, I rather have the lesser of two evils. For example, right? It's like the person who who's alone,
Mhm.
but Johnny down the street who's very toxic. It's not good for them, but they're a companion. They're around once they pick up that call, right? If it's a slow Thursday and I'm like, I kind of want a warm bed,
Yeah.
you pick up Johnny, even though he's not good for you. But down the road, it can't last that long because eventually you're gonna say, Annie, Terrain, what the hell am I doing in this situation? What was your aha moment? I gotta get out of here.
Oh, so I came back from deployment 10 years, and we didn't have a honeymoon. And in my mind, we didn't have the finances, but he was a spender. So I was always chasing. And when I came back from deployment, I thought, okay, he's had a year. Surely he's saved up enough money to go on a cruise or a vacation or a honeymoon that I never got when we got married. And not only did I not get that grand vacation that I felt entitled to, I got an anniversary card for my 10-year anniversary from my husband, a $4.95 card. And I was so offended. So I had asked for a divorce, but right around that same time, and I can't remember exactly if it was before I asked for the divorce or shortly after, I came back from the deployment with injured knees. I had injured knee, injured ankle. My wrists were not good. Because I was going in and out of Iraq, and you have to be full battle rattle. It's a lot of gear, about 110 pounds of gear. And you got to jump off the back of the C-130, which is about 18 inches, 2 feet. You're jumping down, but you're jumping down with 110 pounds of extra gear that you've got, and you've got to get off the flight line really quick. So I came back with injuries. And so I was hobbling quite a bit. I was not in an okay space. I came back with PTSD, all this thing. And my husband's empty. He had dissociated the entire deployment. He wasn't home to catch me. And I'm like mentally falling, and he's not there. And I remember climbing up the stairs of our brand new 2-story home. And I got to the top landing, and I tripped over my own feet. And I fell to the floor. My knees hit the carpet without a lot of padding. And I just started bawling, because in that moment, I knew I couldn't be a mom. I couldn't be a wife. I couldn't be a business owner. My whole life just felt like I hit the brick wall. And I just started crying. And I'm praying to God, which wasn't something I did super often. And I'm saying, God, please take this from me. Take this. Like, I can't, and I'm swearing in my own head. Like, I knew I was emotionally exhausted and mentally exhausted and spiritually exhausted and physically exhausted. There was nothing left of me. The adrenaline from the deployment had crashed. There was no one there to be the safe net when I came home. I just like had this explosive emotional moment. And I'm saying, please take this, please take this. And I have no witnesses in my house. I'm by myself, just screaming, please take this. And this voice came in my head. And the voice said, we've been waiting for you to let go. And it was like, when you have those moments in Hollywood where all the flashes, like in a Hollywood movie where all the clues flash in front of you that you completely missed. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I am holding on to all these broken things. And I was so insistent that I was going to make this white picket fence life work, that I didn't see how broken my fence was. Everything. And that was a hugely pivotal moment in my life of how much I was holding on to that wasn't even mine. It wasn't my shit. It wasn't my stuff. So that was the catalyst to everything moving forward.
How many years of emotional buildup do you think you were able to release at that moment?
Um, over 3 decades. It was a lot of my marriage. It was a lot of the resentment I had in my marriage, because I genuinely felt like I had not just my son, but I had children. I was and I had even said that. I would talk to people and subconsciously I would just blurt out, "Oh yeah, I have to go get dinner ready for my children." And they say, "You have more kids?" I'm like, "No, I just have one. I don't know why I said that." But I said that about 4 or 5 times during my marriage, and never once after I got divorced. I didn't realize that I was filling the role of his mother. So I was taking on the responsibilities of being his mother, and I was carrying this extra weight that wasn't even mine. But I had done that with my father too, and I'm just not even consciously aware of it. I didn't realize my dad was codependent. So I didn't see it in my ex-husband as being ultra codependent. And so it was not just the deployment, and it wasn't just a little bit of my marriage. It was my entire marriage and my entire childhood and my entire military, all wrapped into this moment.
It was like you were still carrying the 110 pounds of military gear, just instead of actual physical weight, it was this emotional and mental weight, right? And many women will state that as a complaint or as an issue where they feel like they're not in a serious relationship, or at least one that is viewed as husband wife, boyfriend girlfriend. Many times you hear a lot of women say, I feel like I'm his mother.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm taking care of an adult child.
Yep.
When you first said, oh, I have to go home and make dinner for my children, and then you caught yourself, wait a minute, I only have one.
Mm-hmm.
How did that make you feel when you first realized you're actually viewing your situation as more so of a mother to two children versus a mother and a wife?
The first time I dismissed it. I didn't even digest what I was saying. But it wasn't until after I got divorced and I was living in the house that I'm in now by myself, did I see the micro moments of weaponized incompetence. Like I would send him to the grocery store to get certain grocery items, text it to him. These are the things I need. Can you grab them? And we had 3 supermarkets within 2 miles in any direction. And he would come back with alcohol, like beer and snacks and bratwurst or whatever he wanted. I'm like, where's the items I asked for? Oh, I forgot. So then what I learned is that I couldn't send him to go grocery shopping. And then I would come home, like if he got fired from his job or something happened where, I mean, there were times when he got fired from his jobs, and I would be working extra hours, and I would be still carrying the burden of being mother, and then come home and he would meet me at the door and then take me on a tour of all the cleaning he did. Like, look how I did this, look how I did this, and look how I did this. And I folded the clothes and thinking, these are the things I do every day. No one pats me on the back for this shit. Like this is what adulting is. But I would go through this entire tour of how he vacuumed and how he took the garbage out and how he folded the laundry and made the bed. And I would just be so frustrated. And he would take that as me not understanding his code of love. And I'm like, this isn't a code of love with a lateral partner. This is what a child would be proud of doing. My 13-year-old now would want me to be proud of him for doing all of those things, not a grown man in his 40s. So, but I didn't see those moments until I was divorced and had time to just be in silence for a while and reflect back. I didn't see it when I was in it. I just saw this is what we do, and this is sort of his quirkiness. I dismissed it.
For those who are watching on Facebook, YouTube, and my social media, please subscribe, like, and share for more fantastic interviews like the one I have with my new best friend with a big smile, Annie. and we will be back for more. So stay tuned, everyone.